Let's talk about red nail polish. Red nail polish once sparked a curiosity that would lead to the growth of the manicure industry, an industry that's now worth $8.3 billion and dominated by Vietnamese Americans, who make up 51% of the profession across the country and 80% here in California. Have you ever had your nails done by a Vietnamese manicurist? Raise those hands. That makes just about all of us. And have you ever been curious as to why there are so many Vietnamese manicurists in the United States? Well, let me tell you. What if I told you that the Vietnamese nail industry all started with curiosity? The curiosity of 20 Vietnamese refugees and their chance meeting with a Hollywood movie star. I'm going to take you back to April 29th, 1975, 5 days away from my second birthday. It's also the date that marks the emergency evacuation of all US troops in Vietnam and their heroic attempts to evacuate thousands of Vietnamese refugees during the fall of Saigon. My dad was a colonel in the South Vietnamese Air Force. And on this day, with news of imminent defeat, he was sent home and told to get his family out of the country any way he could. So he rushed home to my mom, and he told her, "We need to leave now." With that, they scrambled to the ground, grabbing their 3 children, my grandfather, my aunt, and stuffed 1 suitcase. Leaving the rest of our lives behind, we fled our country. And as traumatic and sad as that was, we were among the fortunate ones to find a way out, making us part of the first wave of Vietnamese refugees to enter the United States, a country who welcomed us with open arms. Our first home here was a tent at Camp Pendleton Marine Base in San Diego, where servicemen and women helped us in our transition into our new country and our new home. We were here for a few months, and then we were transferred to Hope Village, a refugee education center and integration center outside of Sacramento, funded by Food for the Hungry. And it's here that those 20 Vietnamese refugee women met that Hollywood movie star, building a relationship that would make of all things manicures a part of the Vietnamese American story. Among those 20 women was my mom, who's here today. And that Hollywood movie star, actress Tippi Hedren, most famously known for her starring role in Alfred Hitchcock's movie, The Birds. Tippi volunteered up at Hope Village, and as she puts it, she just fell in love with these women whose lives had been traumatically and permanently changed. And Tippi was determined to empower these women with a skill so that they could support their families in their new country. So Tippi started a program where she made sewing and typing classes available, because those were skills that were fairly easy to learn, and there was a low barrier of entry into the workplace. But it was something else altogether that caught the curiosity of these 20 women, and that was Tippi's long, red, manicured nails. And you have to remember that in 1975, manicures were nowhere near as common as they are today. It was a luxury reserved for the wealthy and for movie stars, and certainly not something these 20 women were accustomed to seeing. It's that curiosity that led Tippi to ask, what if? What if we can get these women trained and licensed as manicurists? It's a pretty simple question, but it came with some obstacles. For example, what beauty school was going to enroll 20 Vietnamese refugees who couldn't pay tuition? And most of these women at the time didn't speak English. How are they going to pass their English written exam to get their license? And how is this all going to be done in the short amount of time they had at Hope Village? So clearly, some challenges, but Tippi, she didn't focus on the impossibilities of those challenges. Instead, she focused on the curiosity of these 20 women and all the possibilities that lived in that question, what if? Walt Disney said, ideas come from curiosity. And I propose that our curiosity is intuitive. We are led to be curious about certain things because we're meant to follow those curiosities. And one way to follow your curiosity is to simply ask, what if? Innovation expert Warren Berger gives us all a way to come up with better ideas, fresh possibilities, and greater results by asking questions. One of those questions being, what if? In his book, A More Beautiful Question, Berger writes about Tim Westergren, a musician, who is curious about why people like certain types of music. And he asks, what if we could map the DNA of music? Through his inquiry, Westergren founded Pandora. Berger also writes about an entrepreneur from Germany named Friedrich Reichheim, who came to Chicago and was curious about Americans' obsession with peanuts, popcorn, and candy, and asked, what if we combine the three? And now, very gratefully, we have Cracker Jacks. And then there are the women in American history, like Abby Kelly Foster, Susan B. Anthony, and Lucy Stone, who are curious and quite possibly furious about the inequalities that they saw in women's economic and civil rights. And they asked, what if we could change the status quo? And the beauty of curiosity is that you don't have to be an innovative entrepreneur, a talented musician, or an outspoken change maker to have it and to follow it. You can even be a Vietnamese refugee who's lost everything except your curiosity. And you never know what might spark that curiosity. So for these 20 women, it was their curiosity around Tippy's long, red, manicured nails that led Tippy to ask, what if? And despite the challenges, Tippy decided to take one small step forward. And she went back to Los Angeles and asked her personal manicurist, Dusty Coots-Butera, if she would be willing to come up and teach these women how to do a basic manicure. Dusty said yes. So weekend after weekend, Dusty came up and taught my mom and her friends how to do a manicure. And they absorbed everything she taught them, so much so that she was even able to teach them a more advanced technique called the Juliet manicure. If you want to know what that is, you can ask my mom later. And they were good at it, and they loved it. But still, that didn't make them licensed manicurists. So Tippy decided to take one more step forward. And she went down to the local beauty school and asked them, is there any way you would be able to take on these 20 women as students? Citrus Heights Beauty College found a way, and they also said yes. Psychologist and author Dr. Robert Maurer writes and speaks about the power of small steps. He suggests that by taking small steps to reach our goals, we can accomplish our goals faster than by taking these giant leaps. Because by taking small steps, we can bypass the brain's natural instinct of protection, triggered in a part of the brain called the amygdala. I call it the bodyguard. So when we attempt these giant leaps forward, we wake up that bodyguard, sending us into fight or flight, causing resistance, which is either going to slow us down or stop us altogether, right? Basic physics. But when we take these small steps, we can tiptoe around that amygdala, not wake up that bodyguard, avoid resistance, and allow ourselves to reach our goals faster by taking one small step at a time. Curiosity, what if, and small steps. Create the possibility for my mom and her friends to complete 400 hours of schooling, all of them passing their manicure practicum and written test in English in 10 weeks. Soon after, Hope Village closed, and our family was sponsored by a church in Santa Monica. So we left Hope Village to start our new lives. My mom with her brand new license in one hand and a letter of recommendation from Tippy in the other. Soon, she found her first job as a manicurist at Beau Jacques Beauty Salon. She took 2 buses to work every day. At first, I watched her struggle to grow her clientele. And then, I watched her become a capable and confident entrepreneur who significantly contributed to her family's income. We moved from our 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment to a 4-bedroom condo, and in 6 years, my parents purchased their own home. It's the waves of Vietnamese refugees who came after us that learned about the profession from my mom and her friends, and their friends from them, prompting thousands of Vietnamese refugees and immigrants over the past 4 decades to ask, what if? What if we opened our own nail salons? What if we started our own beauty schools? What if we manufactured the tools and supplies that we need? The sum of these what ifs amounts to over 100,000 Vietnamese women and men providing for their families and securing a future for their children. It also amounts to the Vietnamese community's significant contribution to the nail industry as we see it today. So this is a personal story, but it's also a story about possibilities. The possibilities are created when one woman commits to empowering other women. And the possibilities are created when you and I follow our curiosity, ask what if, and have the courage to take one small step forward. So growing up, I watched my mom follow her curiosity, ask what if, and take tiny, small steps every day, and mostly out of necessity. I credit her for inadvertently teaching me how to follow my own curiosity. And I say inadvertently because I was not raised by parents who encouraged me to chase my dreams and follow my curiosities. Because of their life experiences, my parents very strongly, through their words, advocated for education and stability. But clearly, it wasn't their words that most influenced me. It was the impact of watching their actions on a daily basis. So my mom will tell you that throughout the years, she had some doubts about this inadvertent lesson she taught me as she watched me bounce around following my curiosity from one career to another. And she certainly had some doubts in 2005 when I dropped everything and decided to ride my bicycle through Vietnam for 30 days. After becoming curious about the country we left behind and asking, what if there's something I could do for some of the people who aren't as fortunate as us? This ride raised $5,000 for Clear Path International, an organization that helped victims of landmines left from the war. Following my curiosity has also led me to my career now. I get to help companies use their curiosity and their creativity to solve problems, share ideas, and build better organizations. And if there's one thing my business has proven to me, is that ideas can come from anybody, regardless of socioeconomic status, education, or position in the workplace, because we're all curious, and we're all creative. So I recently had the chance to bring my work to the Honor Foundation in San Diego, not far from Camp Pendleton, where we first lived in that camp. The Honor Foundation supports military special force operators as they transition from military to civilian careers. I led a group of their graduating fellows in exploring their curiosity, asking what if, and building potential futures for themselves. It was an honor for me to be part of their transition as they had been there for my family through ours. There's a saying that curiosity is the most powerful thing you own. For these 20 women, that proved to be true. The next time you find yourself curious about something, I wonder, what possibilities could you create for yourself or for others if you followed that curiosity with what if? And if you followed that what if with the courage to take one small step forward. Thank you.